Faith Church, hope you're doing well today on this rainy Friday. If you're reading along with us in Genesis, there's just a remarkable story that we get to reflect on today in chapter 18. And these mysterious visitors come to Abraham, and he shows them great hospitality, and they give him a message. The Lord gives them a message through them, or maybe it's the Lord himself, that Abraham, who's now 100 years old, and his wife Sarah, by this time the following year, will have a child. And Sarah, who's just prepared this feast for these visitors, is inside the tent, kind of eavesdropping, listening, and she hears this and she begins to laugh. I thought about that. There's at least two kinds of laughter. The other day, somebody said to me, there's a movie star that you remind me of, and without hesitation, I said, Brad Pitt, and the person laughed. It was a joke, and that's that first kind of laughter. Like, yeah, you don't look like Brad Pitt at all. I won't tell you who they thought I looked like. That's the kind of dismissive laughter, like what you just said is ridiculous. It's comical. It's just not true. And that's that first kind of laughter. Second kind of laughter is a laughter that's rooted in joy. And you've probably experienced this when something so good happens to you in life or to someone you love. Sometimes the way we express it is just laughter. We just can't stop laughing because we are so filled with happiness and joy. Seems pretty clear that Sarah here has that first kind of laughter, that she hears this prophecy about her, a 90-year-old woman who's never been able to conceive and bear a child, having a son by next year, and she just dismisses it. It's a joke. And then God has this line where he says to Abraham, to Sarah as well, is anything impossible with God? Such a good question. And I had to take some time this morning to think about that, and would encourage you as well to think about that question in your own life. Is anything impossible for God? What are some things in your life that seem like barriers or obstacles right now? Or maybe promises that you know that God has made through his word, and yet you really have a hard time believing that these things could come to pass, or that this obstacle in your life could be removed. And maybe we, like Sarah, need to hear from God who says to us, do you really think anything is impossible for me? Now, it doesn't mean that God always does exactly what we want him to do. Most of us have lived long enough to understand that we're children of a father who sometimes makes decisions on our behalf that we don't understand, just like children don't understand the decisions that their parents make. But God is a loving father who always makes decisions and has a will that is according to our best interests. And even when it doesn't seem like that, sometimes in time we'll have to wait and see how that was true. And yet I think one thing we ought to really make sure we never do is to laugh dismissively at God's promises, or look at obstacles and laugh and think, well, God could never do anything about that. It's just not true. God has infinite sovereign power, and we need to trust that. I thought about this story though, a year, and we'll read this in a couple days, but a year from that time, it happened. Sarah did give birth to a son, Isaac, and God instructed her and Abraham to name him Laughter, perhaps as a reminder. And I have to imagine that when that happened, when she became pregnant and had this child, that she probably experienced that other kind of laughter. I have this picture in my mind of Sarah just holding this baby boy in her hand that she never thought she would experience in life, and being so overcome with joy that she experiences laughter. And reminds me that I think that one day, whatever obstacles or hardships that we face in life, and I know a lot of us right now are facing some really hard things, that there will come a day when God will make all things right. And I have to think that one of the things that we'll experience in God's kingdom in heaven is laughter, because we will not be able to even believe the goodness, the inheritance that we've received, the joy that we will experience. And we will never again laugh dismissively at God's promises. So I hope you're encouraged today, wherever you are, and looking forward to being with you in worship on Sunday and thinking more together about how God is sending us out into the world and calling us out to follow him, to bear witness to this good news. Wherever you are, I pray you know the love of God as your Father, the grace of Christ his Son, and the fellowship of his Spirit. Peace.